If it comes to weight loss, too much estrogen is one problem, but what can make your weight loss even harder is the poor estrogen metabolism and imbalance between three different types of those estrogen metabolites. So in today's video, I will explain what are the good and bad estrogen metabolites and how you can block those bad estrogen with specific foods and ultimately lose weight with less effort. Because the thing is, if your estrogen is imbalanced, the weight loss can be really frustrating. Sometimes it can even feel impossible. That was me, for example, a few years ago, not eating much, exercising a lot, but still struggling to lose that belly fat, and on the top of that, unbearable painful period. And that's me now, less than 20% body fat, eating more, and literally no period pain. And that's the result of me finally balancing my hormones and my estrogens after 15 years of struggles. So before I dive into specific foods that you can add to your diet, let me explain first what are those good and bad estrogens and what foods contribute to that imbalance. But if you're not interested in that more nerdy part, I would say, and what to avoid, feel free to jump straight away to that second section. So let's break it down. There are three different types of estrogen. Estradiol, the most powerful, and then estrone and estriol, a bit weaker forms. Those three estrogens get metabolized into three different types: 2-OH, 4-OH, and 16-OH. And don't worry about the name, I will try to make it as simple as possible and as practical as possible. The first one, 2-OH, is considered the safe and more protective type of estrogen metabolite. 16-OH and 4-OH are those harmful estrogens, and the 16-OH is highly estrogenic. That means it can contribute to more weight gain, more painful periods or PMS, and other estrogen-related symptoms or conditions like endometriosis or even breast cancer. Your body, of course, produces all three types of estrogen and metabolizes in those three different forms. Ideally, 2-OH, the protective one, should be dominant estrogen, and 14-OH, 16-OH shouldn't be more than 10–30% max. Also, standard blood test usually measures only estradiol and not other types of estrogen, unless you specifically ask for it. To get more detailed breakdown of your three types of estrogen and also estrogen metabolites, that test is really great and honestly one of the best hormone tests available so far. And if it comes to weight loss, what is really interesting, you can have estradiol to progesterone ratio within optimal range, but if your body produces too much of those harmful bad estrogens, you can still struggle with weight loss. I have seen quite a few cases with very low estradiol levels, so at first it seems like there is no estrogen dominance sign. But when you dig deeper into estrogen metabolites, you can see almost reversed ratios, very little protective 2-OH and 16-OH as the dominant estrogen, causing all the estrogen dominance symptoms. Here is an example of one of my clients that weight loss was one of the biggest struggles. We did the test, and what the Dutch tests show was basically very low estradiol level and high progesterone. So at first, if that would be only a blood test, we would assume there is no estrogen dominance signs. But because we've done the Dutch test, we can see and dive a bit deeper into those estrogen metabolites. And here you can see completely reversed ratios of those 16-OH and 2-OH estrogen metabolites. In her case, 16-OH was the dominant one, over 50%, and 2-OH, the protective one, was the deficient one. And that was what was preventing her from losing weight despite eating healthy and exercising. So when you're trying to balance your estrogen, apart from including foods that block those harmful estrogen metabolites, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it's also important to understand and limit foods and a few other things that increase those harmful estrogen metabolites. I'm always saying remove whatever is harmful in the first place before adding new beneficial things. So what can increase those bad estrogen is excess alcohol consumption, sugar, and too much omega-6 in your diet in relation to omega-3. All three are actually a huge problem nowadays. So foods high in omega-6 are, for example, sunflower oil, canola oil. These are especially harmful if used for cooking. Then most nuts, apart from walnuts maybe, chicken, unless it's pasture-raised, similar with beef, if it's not grass-fed, it's high in omega-6. And of course, processed foods and snacks like crisps, cakes, etc. And just to clarify, I'm not saying avoid those nuts and meats, but make sure you choose quality meats and balance your omega-6 in your diet with omega-3 rich foods like hemp seeds, for example, chia seeds, flax seeds, some fish like sardines or Pacific salmon. But with fish, I usually would be careful and don't consume it more than once a week because fish is usually high in heavy metals. Then also excess caffeine, smoking, and pesticide. So buying organic where possible can be also really beneficial. So once you limit the bad estrogen inducers, then as a next step, you want to focus on what foods block those bad estrogen metabolites. And here are a couple of really powerful foods. Grapefruit, peppermint, and rosemary are top 3. I also like pomegranate. And if it comes to supplements, CBD oil, resveratrol, and NAC supplements can also be beneficial. But before using supplements, I always advise best to consult it with your doctor or qualified nutritionist, because the effectiveness is dose dependent, so you want to make sure they will do the job as they should do. And also with supplements like NAC, for example, high doses, they can deplete you from zinc, which is also the #1 mineral if it comes to estrogen progesterone balance. And then one more thing if it comes to estrogen balance and weight loss is to detox through the high levels of those harmful estrogens. That means you want to support phase 2 and phase 3 of estrogen detox to get rid of those harmful estrogens. What I just walk you through is a phase 1. And for phase 2 and 3, the foods that can help you with that are onions, garlic, eggs, asparagus, and also broccoli sprouts.